Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. You know, it's a new year, and we've gone through a fascinating time period over the course of the last 8 months. And I think we've all learned some things. And a friend of mine who I've had the privilege of having on my show, I think twice before, once before COVID started, and we talked about just dating, online dating and dating. And then during COVID, and we talked about online dating. I thought posted a really interesting article last week about the top 10 lessons of relationships and love that she learned during the last couple of months, and her role as a celebrity matchmaker and online dating expert and dating coach, Carmelia Ray. And I thought I'd invite her back because some of those lessons, frankly, spoke to me and were kind of interesting. So Carmelia, how are you? Welcome to our show.
I'm great. And I'm so honored to be a third-time guest to your show, which is fantastic. And it's clear, especially at the beginning of the new year, now more than ever, setting new goals, setting new intentions, and thinking about your personal connections is really top of the list for many people, along with, better health, losing that COVID weight, all of those good things. So I've been super busy. Thank you.
Fantastic. So, let's get right into this article. 2020's top 10 love lessons learned. People will always remember how you made them feel. The goal is to learn from every single dating experience. Carmelia Ray, why did you put this list together?
I put this list together for so many reasons. My primary reason is that a lot of people who are considering working with a matchmaker or finding a partner struggle with what they should be looking for. And this list is not a list of musts and must nots or what everyone has to follow. I just thought that it would be important to share, working with some very successful entrepreneurs and CEOs, what do successful people look for in a partner? And as a matchmaker working over 28 years in the industry, and now through one of the most unprecedented and difficult times for the entire world, having to pair people in this period has given me so many lessons. And if there's a shortcut or a way that I could share some insight for others that are trying to figure out the dating piece, this is why it motivated me. And Brian, to your point about how people made them feel, I do an exit survey for all of my clients. We actually prep them before the date, give them a little background about each other. And then we do, a post-date survey. So the opportunity to learn what each person, experienced about that date and getting two different sides of the story. And frankly, sometimes those experiences are so opposite to what was actually going on. And that in itself provides valuable insight for clients and for hopefully everybody who's single who can take something out of that. And people do always remember how you made them feel. That is one of the feelings or the questions we ask is, how did you feel about your date? Give us feedback. And so that's where this list came from.
I was surprised that you said in the article that you've actually had more business during 2020 and that because of the pandemic and isolation, I guess people were reaching out to you even more than usual. Explain that if you could.
Yes, this has been a constant theme throughout the last 3 decades. When 9/11 happened, when any major tragedy happened, anytime there was an earth-shattering, global situation that impacted stuff, singles tend to want to, be with somebody and not have to go through these types of situations alone. So I feel like coaches, mental health professionals, look at the health industry, completely impacted. We've got some industries that are dead silent, like hospitality and travel. And then you've got helping services or mental health services, including matchmaking, which involves coaching and putting people together. That just completely went up. And not only that, Brian, I was helping people. I'm a matchmaker putting people together, but I also happen to help people during their breakups in the pandemic because many relationships did not stand the test of, COVID, and they ended
being
up
stuck together.
No,
I just
COVID was not glue.
heard on the radio that the hospitals are jam packed with not necessarily just COVID people, but a whole bunch of births. The So a whole bunch of babies are being born as well during COVID.
Well, we got lots of time on our hands, so I can imagine.
We're chatting with Carmelia Ray, a celebrity matchmaker and online dating expert, about the top 10 lessons that she learned about love during COVID-19 from her matchmaking. We're going to take a break and come back, and we're going to get right into what the 10 are. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour, Saga 960. What are the lessons of love that Carmelia Ray, the celebrity matchmaker and online dating coach and regular dating coach, learned during COVID-19? Because she says it was really this crucible that over the course of the last couple of months, because of social isolation, because of stay-at-home orders, because of whatever else, she was actually in a lot of demand. People looking for advice. And last week, I was interested. She wrote an article, The Top 10 Love Lessons from Working with the World's Most Successful Single Entrepreneurs, Influencers, and Celebrities. And so I wanted to reach out to her and find out what these top 10 are and see if we can learn anything. So Carmelia, welcome back. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Should we go right into number one?
So number one is a healthy partnership begins with self-care and self-love.
100%. I don't think that that's earth-shattering, groundbreaking news, right? But at the same time, a lot of people enter relationships not addressing the fact that they have not done the work to themselves, or that they're in struggle, or they're still dealing with a breakup, and they've got other things going on in their personal and professional life that will absolutely impact.
But so many people are looking for the other in a relationship and finding someone. And it's interesting that your number one lesson is that you've got to be in love with yourself, self-love. And self-care as your number one lesson before you can love someone else. So I do think it's a little bit earth-shattering for people that your number one lesson has nothing to do with someone else. It has to do with yourself.
I now that you put it that way, Brian, and there's the perspective, I've been in the industry, so I'm like, duh, of course the number one thing is yourself, when that might seem so obvious. Where, I quoted Will Smith, and the photo that I used for this title was the fact that he said the central idea of love is not a relationship commitment. The first thing is personal commitment to be the best version of yourself, with or without that person you're with. So many people, depending on their attachment style, on their love language, you're right, they will often seek a partner for qualities they lack. And the challenge with that is now you become dependent of this partner, and you don't feel enough, or you don't feel whole and complete without this person. So your driver for seeking a partner are things that you are not improving on. If I needed, if I didn't know how to walk, would I just constantly, be looking for somebody who could walk or hold my hand the entire time? Maybe, but wouldn't it be better if I learned how to do that on my own? And that is the idea of practicing self-love. A lot of my clients feel that way.
How do you practice self-love?
Well, that's number one, is exactly finding the answers to that question. So part of that self-love is taking an assessment of, do you even know who you are, what you're bringing to the table, and what is your view of self? If your view of self is not positive, if your view of self is doubtful and fearful, or I'm not enough, Brian, imagine being with somebody and dating someone that has this constant thought in their brain, I'm not enough, I'm not enough. That person's happiness, you'll exhaust yourself trying to fill someone else's cup. So part of that, a step you can take, is to write down your list of qualities, positive qualities, and remind yourself that those are the things that you bring to the equation. The areas that you need help with, or that you feel are weaknesses, you can go to work on. But I'm really, there's so much different advice that we could talk about, and this could be an entirely different show, but I try to focus on strengths, just like you are in business. If I constantly tried to learn every new skill, I would just never perfect anything. So for singles out there that are struggling with self-love, get a support person, find out what your strengths are, and focus on those.
I thought it was interesting that the second half of the quote from Will Smith that you have is, you have to every single day wake up with mind, body, and spirit to have a commitment to be better.
Absolutely. I mean, for people that are hopeless, and there are a lot of people that are during this pandemic have felt hopeless. And I can share that there were times in the pandemic early on where I had temporary feelings of being hopeless in a certain scenario. But it's just give yourself a time limit. Don't be in that constant state of hopelessness. Always take a step or action or commit to being better.
Okay, rule number two, or not rule, lesson number two is
Lesson.
accountability is vital. Accountability is vital? That's tough.
Accountability is really being able, and it's a willingness to take responsibility for your actions, for who you are, where you are, the sum of the present state of being of where you're at right now, and all the actions and decisions and choices that led you to there. That being said, if you are accountable in the context of being single, I am single today for XYZ reasons, right? What is it that you're doing to make the change to not be single today if that is your goal? Now, this is why I work with singles, Brian. It's not like we wish for things and they automatically pop up. I wish I was the magic genie and you rubbed my hip and boom, I could grant you your 3 dating wishes, right? It doesn't work that way. So accountability just means taking responsibility and not blaming somebody else, your circumstance, your situation. There aren't enough good guys out there. I don't make enough money, or I don't have the perfect body. All of these excuses that a lot of singles will create to explain why they're single, rather than figuring out what's it going to take? Who do you have to become? Who do you have to be? Because sometimes, again, it starts back with that lesson number 1. Self-care. Are you looking for things in someone else for things that you can find within yourself? So that's why I believe accountability is important. And the photo I chose is Sheryl Sandberg. And, I famously quote her often, the most important career choice you'll make is the person you marry. So when you consider that, speaking from probably one of the most influential and impactful women, executive women on the planet here, truly believes that. And if you know her personal story, she did lose her husband and she had to be very resilient to bounce back from that. That's important to note, that who you choose is going to impact your everything. And so if you're not happy in your partnership for whatever reason, figure out the equation. What's missing from that can make a positive difference in the future.
I don't know about you. You probably interact with a heck of a lot more people in this regard than I do, but there's so many people that settle for in relationships. And what this really brings to the fore when you quote Sheryl Sandberg about the most important career choice you're going to make is who you marry. Settle for is not an option.
Yeah, and the quote here from an actual client, she's a copywriter. The pandemic has been an eye-opening year that has helped me realize valuable, important things to me. I tend to get so caught up in my work and career pursuits that I realize the importance of mindfully building the type of life I want to live. And for her, part of our reason for connecting is, of course, she wanted to address the personal side of her life because she was doing everything else to create success in her business life and not enough focus on her personal life. So that's where the accountability was important in this example.
Lesson number 3 is your word is your bond.
Oh yeah. What does that mean to you, Brian, when you hear that? It's a common statement.
Well, I frankly have had a situation recently where someone said, unless it's written down, it doesn't count. And, that's the opposite of your word is your bond. If you say something, you should mean it, and it should be the truth, and you should live by it.
Absolutely. And I mean, that needs really no explanation, but I will say when someone is dating, especially in the beginning, you know what? I'm going to erase that. No matter where you are in the stage of your relationship, it doesn't mean that you keep your word in the beginning and then you lose your word in the middle, or when you've been married to someone for X number of years, your word always matters. And so if I take, again, here's one CEO, I'm driven, loyal, I'm focused on spending more time on appreciating life's moments, family, honesty, and integrity are essential to me. And this person is a very successful CEO. He's now happily in a relationship that I, helped to get him ready for, prepared for as a result. And one of the things that really stood out is being his word. He holds himself to that very high regard and really wants the same in a partner, and that he has. So that's great to know that,
okay,
you know, when you say something, do it.
there are a bunch of people also that sort of don't know what they want. And I frankly have copied your quote from Oprah Winfrey, I think 2 or 3 times just the last couple of days. Because I think it's really telling. Can you read us the Oprah Winfrey quote that you have on this lesson?
Oh, yes. If a man wants you, nothing can keep him away. If he doesn't want you, nothing can make him stay. Stop making excuses for a man and his behavior. Allow your intuition or spirit to save you from heartache. Man, where did you use this? I'm curious.
If a man wants you, nothing can keep him away. I think that, you know, that's,
do you agree?
If he doesn't want you, nothing can make him stay. No, I agree. I think that I've had a couple of friends, female friends, that have been frustrated in relationships, and maybe
this is a great quote.
Maybe they're trying to keep the guy stay, and they don't realize that if he really wants to be there, he'll be there. And he'll work at it damn hard, because a man that really wants something, he'll go for it, and he'll be persistent.
And by the way, I would even take the gender off of it. If a person wants you, no matter who that person is, male or female, because women also struggle with that when it comes to men. If a person wants you, there's nothing that you need to do. If they don't want you, there's nothing that you can do either. Then it's a manipulation, right? Then it becomes something that you're forcing. And those situations never end in positivity.
Lesson number 4, an attitude of gratitude.
Yes. Well, I think 2020, for people who have not learned this lesson. Again, part of these lessons are important because many of these lessons were learned with respect to 2020. That's the top lessons. Although I've had many lessons and there's a common theme here, if you cannot be grateful in a time, like, it's so important to be grateful in a time where you find that there's no opportunity for gratitude. And I know, Brian, I read your recent Instagram post talking about the new year. You had the loss of a very good friend. I'll share, I lost my father in January of 2020. I had a close friend lose both parents to COVID recently during Christmas, 9 days apart. So we've all experienced tremendous loss. And yet in that loss, we can also still be grateful that I am here with you, today, sharing what we can share with your audience. And we get to get up and, wake up and eat food and have clean water. I mean, these are things that I think we often forget about, the fact that we don't have to struggle to have electricity. So find places where you can be grateful. That is something that many successful entrepreneurs and business owners that I work with say is very important, and a daily practice and habit that they have for both their life and business.
You had a quote from a head of creative development, when I presume one of your clients, that said, yes, "Fierce and grace, powered by compassion and humility. This is me."
She is a remarkable individual, based in LA, works for a very top music brand. And, these are statements and quotes coming from people that have access to, famous people. But at the end of the day, all she wants is compassion and humility. And that's how she describes herself. I just thought that was beautiful to share.
Number 5, key life values outweigh possessions. Memories, not things, I presume.
Yes. Memories, not things, values versus, possessions. Really, some people prioritize. Let's say they say, I want a man with a big house, or I want a woman, who can fend for herself. I don't know. I'm trying to think of things that people will prioritize in terms of, or the kind of car they drive, or things like that, material possessions. When really most of the entrepreneurs, and I'll call them millionaires or affluent singles, because they've already achieved a life and have created, a wealth and abundance for them, they're not necessarily looking for a partner to add to that, bank account. They want someone who's going to add to their compassion bank, their gratitude bank, their heart bank, the things that really you cannot buy. You can't buy, for example, real love, or they say that money can't buy love. Now, it might look like that, or it might feel like that, but really loyalty, all of those things have to do more with what you're bringing to the table. Key life values, Brian, are things like your attitude towards yes, finance is included, but what's your attitude about money? How do you want to raise children? Is there a particular religion that you follow, or it's all more around your key life values versus, the things that you've accumulated over the years.
I thought your quote from Tony Robbins really summed it up unbelievably well.
Thank you. The only way a relationship will last is if you see it as a place that you go to give and not a place that you go to take. I think we can drop the mic there and say that sums it up. But very true. Most people enter relationships for what they can get from it versus what they can give. That is really the distinct difference between someone who's in the relationship as a place to serve versus someone to receive. And when you lead with that, oh my gosh, your relationships and personal relationships will transform.
Okay. So I found it interesting that you had that quote, and I agree with it completely, because there are so many people that I think go to a relationship to get rather than to give.
Yes.
But then you followed it with a quote. And I wonder if you'd read this quote, because when I read this quote, I wasn't sure what this Sophia is looking for.
Okay. Okay, let's read it. She was and by the way, Sophia is happily in a relationship now and just went on hold in December, had one of her best Christmases. So, looking for a kind life partner, a gentleman, ambitious, financially sound, loves to travel, affectionate, honest, respectful, good communicator, good sense of humor, adventurous, spontaneous at times. He takes care of his appearance, confident but not arrogant, and makes time for a stable relationship, as my top love language is quality time. Chemistry and looks are essential, but they don't need to be a model. Laugh out loud. However, I won't complain if I get a date with a model. Other qualities, along with some initial physical attraction, can make them more attractive. Now, what do you mean by that in terms of...
There's nothing about what she's bringing to the party in this paragraph. It's all about what she's going to get, what she wants. And so I almost thought this was the opposite of what Tony Robbins was talking about.
Well, yes. Yes and no, because it's important to know what you're looking for. And if you can notice the things that she listed off, one quality was financially sound. Everything else, Brian, spoke about values, about, a touch on physicality. We all want to have some physical attraction, but when she spoke about a kind life partner, affectionate, honest, respectful, good communicator, that is the reason why I included her quote in this. It is a slice of what she's looking for. Oh, believe me, her list of what she brings is longer than this list. And
okay.
Yeah, much.
Well, just as comparison, yeah, your quote from Olivia, who's a
psychologist. Yes.
I have a strong faith and value system and believe that you treat all individuals with respect and always understand perspectives that differ from yours. I'm incredibly empathetic, sometimes to a fault, and will always give individuals the benefit of the doubt. In this one, it's all about what she brings to the table versus
Absolutely.
The other one is what she wants from the table.
Absolutely. And both are important. Both are important to know. She didn't say in her request or ask or desires, he must, financially sound is generic. It's pretty important. I think if you're coming into a relationship, of course you want somebody financially sound. Now, and interestingly enough, Brian, she's dating somebody who is where she is the breadwinner. I mean, she is in a higher income bracket than the person she's dating. So that should give you some backstory in terms of the fact that she wasn't looking for a man to be the provider per se. And of course, Olivia is like by nature, she's a nurturer and she works in the healthcare field, helping people and children, during tough times in mental health. But yeah, she's a prime example of a giver. And the important part for her is where she can contribute. She doesn't even need to say that the man has to have it all together, because that is a requirement for Olivia. But yes, this shows that she wants to be in a place to serve, and that what's important about that. But
and the third one is fascinating because it's about the relationship. So the first one was about what she wants. The second one was about what she'll give. And then the third one was about the relationship.
Isn't it smart that I put it together that way, Brian?
Read Jennifer's, and she's a VP in finance.
Yes, very high level position in a national bank, at a national bank, not the national bank. Organically connect, deep mutual respect, enlightening and honest conversation, shared interest, common values and goals, believe in love and romance. Mature adults share a healthy lifestyle that has both adventure and cozy peacefulness. Man, would that is a beautiful description.
It really is. I thought, organically connect, deep mutual respect, shared interest, believe in love and romance. This lady's describing the perfect love relationship.
Now that I think of it, Brian, she sounds like she's on par with what you would be. I'll note to self about that. Yeah, she's fantastic and absolutely a giver. And when I say a receiver, you have to, to be willing, it goes both ways. It doesn't mean that in a relationship, you can't make requests or that you don't have expectations. Really, if you're going to be in a relationship just to serve, if that's your, that what makes you happy, great. But all of the women that I've chosen in these quotes are really interested in, a healthy partnership where it's a combination of both give and take. But it was not about money or that the man needs to have this and must drive this kind of car and lives in this kind of neighborhood. It really was more about their values.
The only way a relationship will last, as you say, from Tony Robbins, is if you see it as a place that you go to give and not a place that you go to take. I think that sums it up really well. We're going to take a break and come back with the last 5 lessons from Carmelia Ray, the dating coach and celebrity matchmaker, and just a wonderful, wonderful friend. Thank you, Carmelia.
Thank you.
Stay with us. Well, we're starting a new year and people are thinking about New Year's resolutions and what they want to achieve. And one of the things that people want to achieve all the time, I think, is love. And a friend of mine, Carmelia Ray, the celebrity matchmaker and online dating expert and dating coach, has put together a list of the top lessons that she learned about love during the past year. And she suggested that really COVID-19 was this crucible where even though we were at home, we were socially isolated, we were staying and working and living and whatnot at home, people really cared about relationships and talked to her about it. And because of that, she learned a lot. And we've reviewed the first 5, and we're now going to talk about the second 5. Lesson number 6 is you are who you choose to surround yourself with.
1,000%. And I was so honored that I think it was November of 2019, I flew to Phoenix, Arizona to be part of the Genius Network annual event that's run and hosted by, world-renowned marketer, probably the most connected man in the world, and that's Joe Polish. Do you know Joe Polish, Brian? Are you familiar with Joe? Okay.
I do not.
Google him afterwards. For those who don't know Joe Polish, you should. He is literally one of the most connected people. And his quote is, every bit of money, every bit of progress in life comes through the connections that you actually make. So he is a massive connector. And Brian, as you know me, and I feel like you're in the same category of being a connector in the same way that I am with all of your guests and who you've been able to connect behind the scenes. people don't just date that person. They're dating that person and their community, their 6 degrees of friends, their family, everything. And so most people that I am working with will ask more than just, who is this person? Who does this person hang out with? What are the groups and clubs that they're associated to? What do they do in their off time? And so it's really important that you consider who your friends are. Are there anybody that in 2020 that or 2021 looking forward that you need to disconnect from? Or what are the new connections you need to make? If you live in a bubble, which we all do now, kind of, but if you're trying to meet new people, you want to create an extension outside of your regular circle if you want to expand that. So you want to really be careful about who you do introduce yourself and your friends and your potential partner to, because they will, I don't know if the word is judgment. They're certainly going to make decisions and choices about how much time they spend with you, or if they spend time with you based on who you associate yourself with.
Well, you probably know the statistics, but it's interesting. There's been lots of studies done that say if you hang around people that smoke, you'll tend to smoke. If you hang around people that are fit, you'll tend to be fit. If you hang around people that are obese and do drugs or whatever, that's what you'll tend to do. And so, the people that are your circle end up having a dramatic influence on who you are. But then I love this quote that you quote from Joe Polish. Every bit of money, every bit of progress in life comes through the connections that you actually make.
Yes. And I'll quote both of these clients, both Amanda and Lena are clients in Toronto. I'll speak about Lena. I'm determined, disciplined, goal-oriented, and focused. I'm an achiever who has a successful career and is now ready to focus on a romantic life partner with the right partner. I am well-traveled, classy, and prefer a close circle of friends. Not all entrepreneurs or celebrities or very successful people in the world are always used to big crowds. You'll see them in big crowds because that's, the world that they surround themselves with. They have an entourage, but usually within their own community, and I'll speak particularly about Lena, it's very private, it's very small, it's very controlled. And so you cannot get into people's circle that way without being vetted to a degree. Brian, do you see this happening with maybe friends or celebrities? I know that you have had a lot of contact with high profile individuals. Can you, do you agree with what I'm saying in terms of?
Well, it's yes and no. And I think there really are two different types of people. There are the types of people that want to have the 30-second, really quick, conversation with someone. And it's almost a glad handing kind of relationship. And I'm not discounting that, but that's what some people are like. And then the other people that want to have the intensive, 15-minute to 1 hour long, in-depth conversation, really get to know people. And I'm far more the latter. That's why I love having, long-term conversations with people and relationships over time. But there are some people that would prefer to just go to a party and meet 50 people for 30 seconds each.
Yes. And same with Amanda. I'm not into big parties and galas and nightclubs. I prefer more quality time. And it's not wrong to want to be in a big social circle and to want to, help a lot of people. In fact, I feel that a lot of celebrities and influencers do want to impact a very large community of people. But when it comes down to your romantic partnership and your close circle of friends, you only have a certain amount of time in the day. So it's difficult to foster lots and lots and hundreds of I don't know how some people do it. I don't know how I do it sometimes to maintain the number of friendships and personal connections. But as you said, yes, it might only take 5 minutes or 10 minutes to catch up with someone and know that, you can be there for them in a way. But to that point, really be mindful of who you surround yourself with. Because the person that you are dating is going to now be part of that circle. And so will they blend well? And what choice will you need to make if that blend isn't so smooth? Especially when you have children, a lot of children and young kids and even teenagers and adult kids may need some time to get used to this new person. There could be some friction there. So it's also, they're included in that circle, your family.
Number 7, family is everything.
There you go. There's the segue. So I quoted Paul Carrick Brunson. He's a good friend of mine. I've been many of his mastermind groups. I consider him a friend and a mentor. He is a celebrity matchmaker himself. He has multiple shows on right now. We've done many projects together, but he really prioritizes family. And as much as he actually, when he travels, he actually moved his entire family from where he lived, I think it was DC, to the UK. And he always took on projects that included his family with him. So if there was not a consideration for his family, which is Jill, his wife, and his 2 young boys, he wasn't taking that project. You would never be able to buy Paul. There wasn't a big enough dollar figure that he would pursue that didn't include consideration for his family. So he travels with them and they're homeschooled. So it's really important that, family is everything. That's a big lesson that I've learned for many of the singles I work with is they place family as a high priority, if not number 1 or top 3.
Number 8, time is both your enemy and your ally.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think that sometimes people try to push to what they want to achieve with a relationship, and timing is everything. I think that I don't believe you only have one soulmate in life. I think that there can be other people, several people that you can be with. But I do think that if you're meant to be with someone, even if it's not the right time right now, there's a very good chance that it'll come in the future. And so therefore, you don't have to be desperate that it's got to be right now, that you make the connection and you date them and you establish a long-term relationship. If it's meant to be, it will be. I do think that that the universe sort of tells us and has omens and suggestions for us. And we need to take it. That said, I do think that it is up to you to take those suggestions and omens that come your way and make it reality. So in other words, you know what, if it's not the right time, but you really want to be with someone, take a break and try it again in a couple months.
It's so true. So many people really try to force an outcome. And the other thing is when time is not your ally and it's your enemy, you're coming from a place of panic and from a place of stress. And anytime you come from that context or those vibrations, you just tend to attract the same thing, everything you're looking to avoid when you're operating from, I don't have time, I'm running out of time and it's too late. And all of those things, they are felt from your partner. And that's something that is unspoken. You don't even need to say anything to have those behaviors show up. And it could show up as you're constantly texting someone, you are trying to make plans with somebody who's resistant. And as you said, Brian, it's like you can't, in the previous quote, you can't force somebody to do something. And again, I requoted Julie. I believe that timing is truly everything. I was investing a lot in myself, growing spiritually and emotionally. I'm seeking the same in a life partner. We all kind of have this pace. Some people are racing to find that partner, and other people are kind of on that slow, tortoise in the hare. You're both going to get there. It's just a matter of really understanding where you can, put structures in place so that there is a certain amount of time where you're focused on searching. Because a lot of singles that come to me want that accountability and want to put the structure in place where they can focus on their relationship. And that's missing.
Number 9 is probably always important, but even more so important in the time of where social media is so prevalent. And that is that reputation matters.
Of course. One of the downfalls of dating in today's world is that you can Google somebody. I mean, it can be a downfall or it can be a plus. Many times, Brian, when I'm introducing clients together or presenting profiles, it's just their first name. It's a full detailed bio. They do get photos, but I try not to find photos that are Googleable. I will tell you, probably 10 times out of 10, they're doing research. They're trying to figure out who this person is, where they live. They'll put the name in, they'll put the occupation. Google, oh, they know where you are. They know everything. So I've actually had people cancel dates, agreed to a date before, and then cancel a date because of something that they read online or something they saw that didn't agree with who they were, even when it was something that was well in the past. We can go into a lot of that, but just know that if you are out there in the world and you're dating, you may want to Google yourself and figure out what are the things that Google is saying about you. What are the things that you can change or delete or edit? I'm not saying to wipe away bad history, but be mindful of the fact that people are going to research you and that your reputation always matters.
We're going to take a break and come back with number 10. And Carmelia Ray, expert online dating coach and celebrity matchmaker, and her great list of top 10 lessons of love during COVID-19. Stay with us. Carmelia Ray, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciated your 10 lessons of love from COVID-19. And number 10 is sharing is caring. Life is better shared with someone special. I can't think of a better way to end your list of 10.
No, and thank you. And that photo that I included was the time I was at the Matchmakers Alliance conference, had the opportunity to speak with world-renowned narcissist specialist, Dr. Ramani. She's also been on the Red Table Talk with the Smiths, talking about narcissism. And why I bring that up is, first of all, most narcissists have very selfish behavior. I haven't read her book yet, even though I have a copy about it, but relationships, there's a long quote there that you guys can read on your own, but essentially—
No, please. I think it's a really important quote. Okay. Please read it.
All right. Relationships, like all human experiences, are transient. They change every day and are meant to be enjoyed in the present. When I hear people say you need to work at a relationship, what that often really means is just seeing through the day-to-day, listening to another, listening to yourself, not getting stuck on hurts from the past and not getting lost in what might come. To be in a relationship with someone you respect, care about, and value is a gift. And when you take that in a day-to-day, you honor yourself and your partner each day. Eating is no different than that. You can honor yourself at each meal. So much time in a relationship is spent hashing the past and arguing about things that haven't yet happened. A relationship cannot be hoarded, just like a meal cannot be prolonged by taking home the leftovers.
And I love this quote, and not getting stuck on the hurts from the past, and taking every day to day, not focusing on the past and not worrying about the future. I think it's about living in the present and enjoying the present.
It's such good advice and difficult for many to practice and follow. Just as we've gone through each of the top 10 lessons on their own would make sense, right? It makes sense to apply these lessons, to learn them and to follow them. And the reality is that there is really a lot of work to do. So I thank you for being able to have me share that. And I hope that anyone listening can take at least one of these things away and apply it to their love life in 2021.
Well, Carmelia, thank you so much. You close your article by saying, if you're ready to allow love and resilience to be your theme for 2021, contact us to learn more and about how you can support your journey to a better love. How do they do that? How do they contact you?
They just can go to my website where I've posted the top 10 list. It's at carmeliaray.com. And for those who are on socials, you can follow me on Instagram at Carmelia Ray. And Brian, 2020 at the end, I launched my first podcast called Better Love. And you can also find that on Spotify and wherever, and Apple Podcasts, wherever podcasts are showcased.
Carmelia Ray, thank you so much for joining us. That's the Brian Crombie Show for tonight. Good evening, everybody.